PXG has done it again with the launch of a new lineup of drivers, fairways, hybrids, and irons. The new Gen 5 golf clubs deliver significantly increased MOI, faster ball speeds, longer distances, and tighter dispersions, all coupled with the exceptional feel and sound golfers have come to expect from PXG. Schedule your custom fitting or buy online at pxg.com.
Welcome into another edition of the Stripe Show podcast. It is a Froggy Wednesday. Today we are joined by Nick Hardy, coming off his best PGA Tour finish yet, a T5 at the Sanderson Farms Championship. What's going on, Nick?
Not much. Thanks for having me on, Froggy.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. You know what? Yeah, just last week, really big week for you. I know that not your first year on tour. You were on last year. Had some up and down finishes, but then to come back, Fortinet was the first event of the season. Then you played the second event, the Sanderson Farms, had a really great finish. What was clicking for you?
This last week I was hitting the ball great. I finished number one in strokes gained approach for the event. So wow. I was definitely hitting the ball great, hitting it well off the tee, and that's a key in Jackson. Playing out of the rough there is really tough. Can't get the ball close from out of the rough. So it was a key to hit the ball well, and that's what I did.
For people like me who don't fully understand, I understand some of the stats that are pumped out to us. But for example, strokes gained approach, what exactly does that mean?
It means strokes gained stats are like relative to the field. So if you're 0 in strokes gained in any area of the game, that means you're like average. You're average for that given week for just proximities. It's all based on proximities of the hole. Mm-hmm. And so basically I was hitting it close this past week consistently. So that's what it basically means.
I've talked about this with a couple guys, and you get proximity to the hole. And to me, proximity to the hole can be a misleading stat because you're not always aiming at the hole. So if you're aiming 20 feet left and you pull it a little bit and you hit it close, your proximity to the hole stat looks better, but in reality, you didn't hit it where you were aiming.
Yeah, that's true. There's definitely times out there where pretty much the whole field may not be attacking the pin, but at least it averages out to where the guys are hitting it still. So you're still, you're still guarded or still you're still gauged based on your peers relative to your peers. So the stat is still wouldn't lie to you there.
Right. Now, I did read something, and this is awesome because we had Kramer Hickok on a while back, and Kramer had said he kind of did the same thing, and it makes me feel better about my game. Trust me, my game is nowhere near where yours is. But you said that you got 2 tips going into last week, one from your caddy and one from your fiance, and that those 2 tips made a huge difference to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tips can come from random places in our game. It's a crazy sport, but my fiance is an ex-professional golfer, so she knows the game really well. Okay. So it may seem a little weird or obvious, but she's really in tune with the game. So, but still, she watches my golf and has ideas sometimes. And I was just kind of having a little hissy fit on the range on Wednesday and like throwing clubs and stuff, and and she got me straight. She's like, chill out. You're kind of all over the place with your head and your upper body right now. And I'm like, okay. So she just kind of held my head in one place in the golf swing. And that kind of got me my sling back and my momentum going through the target instead of sometimes I kind of like to use my hands a lot in the golf swing. And that got my body moving in the right directions. And it was just the right sequence. My sequence was off. And so that one thought kind of got me dialed in right away. And then my caddy really helped me with my driver swing. I was getting a little narrow in the driver swing. Sometimes I try to use my hands, like I said, too much, and especially in the long clubs. As long as I'm using my body and my width to move properly and be patient in the downswing, then I won't get narrow. And usually if I get narrow, I'm hitting the ball missing right. So those 2 tips were huge for my week.
No, it's funny because now that it changed you that week, but that doesn't necessarily mean the next week it's going to work the same, because as we know, golf is the most inconsistently consistent sport that's ever been created.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Froggy. I mean, every week, it seems like cycles of feels run 2 weeks, maybe max. You're lucky if they run 2-3 weeks. So it's almost like your feels change, and you got to have new thoughts. And I always like to play golf with about one swing thought or one key in every part of my game. That gives me confidence. So when I have more than one thought, it's not good. When I don't have a good thought to go to, it's not good either. So that thought may still be resonant this week, hopefully. But I also have 3-4 things I kind of sling through every so often. I've got a few different thoughts that I use, and it's almost like I interchange them.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Kramer Hickok, when we had him on, he said that one of the things that he'd seen on YouTube, I mean, literally, he got his swing thought off of YouTube right before an event, and at the top it was hold the pizza, and he wanted to, to have some flexion in his right wrist, and that helped him get his left wrist flat, have a little bow in it, but a little extension in his right wrist, and so that's what he thought of, and he played really, really well, and it's weird how the smallest little thoughts can make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just such a silly game. Like Kramer saw it there. Like, you can find anything anywhere almost, and you might just take it to the garage and make some swings, and oh wow, that might work out.
I mean, do you ever do that? Do you ever see anything on YouTube or Instagram? Because I mean, social media has been phenomenal for golf. I mean, whether it's swing tips or swing videos and all these high-speed cameras that are your iPhone now takes these great videos, and the V1 app. Do you ever get anything off of any of these social media sites?
Yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of Tiger highlights, so who doesn't? The best all the time. So I like watching Tiger highlights a lot. But yeah, it's certainly changed the way that even coaches coach the game in our profession, in our sport, and you can get a lot of advice out there. Most of it's really good, but some of it can be maybe not so good too.
Right.
But yeah, it's a lot of credible people that can get their info out on the social media.
Yeah, it really is. And, like I said earlier, this is not your first year on tour. Last year was your first full season. And at the end of the year, you ended up back in the Corn Ferry finals. Would you say that your mixed results were a result of maybe the tour was not everything you expected?
Yeah, I got off to a poor start my first half of the year on the PGA Tour. There's no doubt about it. Being a rookie, you certainly get enough opportunities to prove yourself, I believe. But it can be hard, though, sitting at the bottom of the Corn Ferry category where I was, and not getting to every event in the fall, and just getting it off to an okay start, and then getting off to a bad start on the West Coast swing. You're kind of really behind the 8 ball right away, and that's where I was. And I was struggling in my game for sure, but getting off to that bad start made it almost put the pressure up even more. So and then I got hurt on top of that. So there was a lot going on for me in my first half of the year. A lot I learned about. Patience, attitude were 2 big things for me. And it definitely paid off in the long run. All that I learned paid off.
What would you say your best finishes were last year? I know you played really well at the U.S. Open, had a T14. And what other tournaments did you play your best in? And what would you relate that to?
Yeah, for sure. I played my best right after I got hurt. I came back. My first event back was on the Corn Ferry Tour. Actually, I lost in a playoff in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
After that, I kind of went on a tear. I was just on a good roll of golf in the summer, early summer. I qualified for the U.S. Open and then played well at the U.S. Open. Finished T14 there. Had a look. I was close to the lead on Sunday, so that was a great experience for me. And then at the Travelers, I was in the mix on the weekend too, and finished 8th there right after the U.S. Open week. So I was just continuing my good play there, and the rest of the summer was solid. But I ended up missing the last 2 cuts of the year to miss my card by 1 point in the end after all the LIV guys left. But I had 4 medical starts because I was injured. So I knew I could bank on those, even going back to Corn Ferry finals. So I did get my card back at finals, and I was in the Corn Ferry category. But then the first event in Napa, when I made the cut, that was big for me because I jumped up to the major med category for the rest of the year.
Now, you mentioned the LIV guys going away. I mean, that's a case where some of the guys who have left, that's providing opportunities for more people to get on and show their wares in the PGA Tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Those LIV guys leaving definitely helped me. There's no doubt about it. It did kind of sting in the end being 0.6 points away from 125. So that was crazy. But
now, looking back over the entire season, because that's an entire season worth of points, is that a case of like one putt somewhere way down the road could that one putt have put you into 125 and you wouldn't have been 0.6 points out?
Oh yeah, that's one putt on a Sunday where I'm in T60. That's not even one putt where I'm near the lead, because obviously the points gap is a lot bigger when you're closer to the top of the lead. So yeah, that's, 1 point is nothing over the course of the season. It's crazy.
Is that a learning opportunity as moving forward? And hey, maybe that Sunday I'm, like you said, I am T60 instead of maybe just mailing it in and just doing your 18 holes. Maybe, hey, I save a shot or two here. It could pay off in the end.
Yeah, I'm not one to mail it in, that's for sure. I mean, I grind for every shot out there. But it just shows you, like, you just got to learn that, look, one shot out there is nothing, and the gap out there is so close. So you really got to just, learn that you got to be alert and ready to play for all 18 holes out there.
Yeah, I mean, it is a season-long points race, and that when it comes down to the end, that 0.6 points is just a simple – it's not a 300-yard drive. It could be just a putt that just needed one more revolution from a T60. And so it's hard to probably keep that in mind when things aren't going so well out there on the golf course, but realize that it really, truly is important, moving forward. And as you get towards the end of the year, to keep your card and play the next season.
Totally. Yeah. It's definitely, it's still a learning moment there for sure.
Finishing the way you did at the US Open and at the Travelers, what does that do for your confidence? Because I'm sure when you're not playing well, it hurts your confidence and you're like, hey, I wonder, can I play out here with these guys? But then you're here at the US Open, which is arguably the hardest setup. Travelers, you play well. How does that build your confidence?
Oh, it totally does. Like, I've always felt that the hard setups fit my game the best. I play really well on tough setups, on tough courses, but at a stage like the US Open, for me to have be around and lurking around the lead on the weekend is huge confidence boost. I felt prepared. I felt ready for it. I didn't feel like the moment was too big for me. So going forward, that's going to be an experience that I really draw back on.
Speaking of setups, you got tough setups and you got the easy setups. What is, quote, easier? A hard setup where par's a good score and you just hang around and that good, or a setup where you got to go out, fire a lot of pins, make a lot of birdies because the score is going to be super, super low?
Yeah, that both are actually hard in hindsight, like you just said. For me, I actually prefer the tournaments that winners are around 5 under, just because it suits my game better currently. I'm working to be a better wedge player and short iron player, so that that those birdies come a lot easier on easier setups. So that on easier setups, it is easier. So. The mindset of knowing you got to go low is definitely
right. You have to make a lot of birdies because everybody's firing at the pins, everybody's going low, and so you feel the pressure to score. Where those 5 under tournaments, you're really kind of hanging around, making par's a great score.
Totally, yeah. It's a mindset thing, and it's not easy. Like sometimes teeing off at 2:00 and the leader's already at 8 or 9 under.
Right. As you do move into your second year here on tour. Is there any way you'll prepare different or anything you'll do different from last year that you've learned after having a year on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, patience. That's a big one. And now going into this year, I know I have a lot more opportunity. I'll hopefully play a lot more than 21 events this year. So I'll have a lot more opportunity to get the points needed, or, my goal is to make it to Eastlake in the last event of the year. So I know that I've got a lot of opportunity to do that now, but just the patience and I would say over a course of a season, staying more level mentally and not getting too high or too low is really important. I'm going to have weeks where it's just not clicking, but I just got to be patient and know that, hey, like, let's build something for the long haul here. Let's build a nice stretch run of golf and just keep it in the big picture. Really. That's what I learned is really important. It's so easy to have mood swings so short.
Yeah, I mean, it is easy. Are you a guy that at the beginning of the season, like I know I'm a huge Justin Thomas fan as well, and when the season's over, Justin Thomas posts an Instagram post usually of the goals that he made for that season, of what he wanted to do, and he usually checks off, and they go very deep. Some are, obviously win a major, get to the tour championship, win the Players, stuff like that. but then, improving strokes gained in putting or strokes gained around the greens or whatever. Are you a guy that writes down your goals so that at the end of the year you can go back and assess, hey, I did this, I didn't do that?
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing that JT does. That's a great thing to point out. It's pretty impressive. I think I'm definitely impressed by his goals as well. I write down goals just like that too, where it's like, oh, win a major, or actually more statistical goals. I think it's good to have all kinds of goals like that. I do it myself too. I just kind of keep it more private, but I just definitely do things like that. Like I just said, like East Lake is definitely a goal of mine, but next year the BMW Championship is in Chicago, where I'm from, so that's just even more of a minor goal for me. That's at Olympia Fields. We played Illinois Golf, played our home event there all 4 years I was there, so that's something that would mean a lot to me, playing in Chicago.
Yeah, speaking of Illinois Golf, I think did you and Detry go to school together?
We did. We were teammates for 2 years. Yep.
Yeah, and you guys were both up near the lead this past week at the Sanderson Farms.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's awesome having him out on the PGA Tour now as well. He's a great player, obviously in Europe for many years, and now he's over here.
Is that a bit of a comfort zone, playing with somebody like that, playing with somebody you played in college with?
Very much so, and especially an older teammate like Thomas. He was a leader to me, and I learned a lot from him and another teammate that he was roommates with, Charlie Danielson, a lot, just how to go about my business. They were both very mature and very impressive off the course, just as much as on the course.
Nick, I'm sure you can talk about this because you've played on both tours now. You've seen what both tours have to offer. Speak to the depth of talent on both the Corn Ferry Tour and on the PGA Tour now, because there's been a lot made about guys leaving for LIV, and I'm not saying the guys that have left weren't good players. They were solid players.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, the guys who have left, whether it's DJ, Bryson, Brooks, Reed, some of the big names who have gone, Cam Smith, it's opened the door for the next Dustin Johnson, for the next Cam Smith, for the next great player on the PGA Tour. And I think that just the depth of talent on the PGA Tour is probably hard for the average person to recognize.
Yeah, it is unfortunate having the game splinter like this and see a bunch of great players for a long time go to LIV. But like you said, like the depth of fields on the PGA Tour now compared to say 20 years ago is just a whole different animal. There's tons of players that can win out here any given week. And then the Corn Ferry Tour, like you said, it's loaded with tons of 22, 23, 24 up and coming year old players that are extremely talented. It feels like college events all over again. And then you got that coupled with a bunch of great players that used to play on the tour who are maybe past their prime, but still great players. So the Corn Ferry Tour depth of fields are getting even more loaded nowadays too. So I think golf is in a healthy place for the PGA Tour to be just fine with a bunch of great young players always up and coming.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be somebody else that's going to rise out of the pack. That's just, I mean, there was a time we didn't know who Dustin Johnson was. There was a time we didn't know who Cam Smith was. There was a time when a lot of these guys, Brooks, they were the players of yesterday and they became the players of today. And so there will be other players that will take over. But at the same time, the PGA Tour has made some changes to their events. And so now there's some elevated events and whatnot. And so speaking to somebody who is a younger player, a newer player on the tour, do you feel there's a pathway for younger players, new guys, to become stars, to become, to get that financial windfall on the PGA Tour?
Absolutely. I think the current pathway as it is great, especially with where they're going. 30 cards on the PGA Tour is awesome, or on the Corn Ferry Tour to the PGA Tour is awesome. Proving it over a single season, I think, is really great to be on the PGA Tour. I think they're having the Corn Ferry there to help get you experience traveling. Doing a full season is really important to prepare you for the PGA Tour. Mm-hmm. And then once you get to the tour, I really do feel like you have plenty of opportunity to prove yourself and get into those upper elevated events. I think it's just the current construction is amazing, and that's why I love and support the PGA Tour. I think it's just the best place in the world to show and prove that you're the best player in the world. It's a true meritocracy, and I think that's how golf should be played.
Is there much talk about LIV on the Corn Ferry Tour?
On the Corn Ferry Tour, I don't think so. Maybe definitely a little bit chatter about it, just like on the PGA Tour. But these guys on the Corn Ferry Tour, like they're working to get the PGA Tour. I think their goals and dreams still is coming out of college is to go play the PGA Tour.
Were you ever approached by LIV?
No,
you were not.
no.
Have you been surprised by anybody who has gone?
It is always surprising to see these big names and a lot of these guys go to LIV. I think my stance on it is like I've always wanted to be a PGA Tour player and win PGA Tour events and win these events that have tons of history and meaning behind it. And I grew up loving and idling Tiger Woods, and you see how Tiger Woods is a nonstop backer of the PGA Tour still. And that's what motivates me is Tiger and winning the events that he won and winning the events that so many other greats on the PGA Tour have won. I think it's just a true meritocracy. And that's what I support. I think it's great for the game that the golf is played the way it's played, and you just got to keep proving yourself year over year. And I think that's why fans love it. I think that's why fans love the PGA Tour and love watching golf. It's just because it's hard, and watching the best players in the world continue to prove themselves year over year. It's impressive.
Yeah, I mean the PGA Tour is the best place, as far as I'm concerned, to play golf. I'm not a professional golfer. However, from the things that I've seen and I think the PGA Tour is the gold standard. I think the LIV Tour is an easy way out to get money and probably not have to be as committed as you have to be on the PGA Tour.
That's how I see it as well. And I don't blame some of these guys that are older though, that have gone over there and traveled, been traveling on the PGA Tour for 20 years, have kids that are 10, 12 years old. And, definitely, like you said, want to take the easy way out and take the guaranteed money. It's not really surprising to me, but it's tough to see because there's definitely a lot of great players that are doing it.
Glenfiddich, the world's most awarded single malt Scotch whiskey, is expertly crafted and made with extraordinary care. Each single malt is a work of perfection.
Yeah, no, I hate to see anybody go, and I hate to see golf splintered. And, Monahan said the other day that the PGA Tour and LIV will never work together. I'm perfectly okay with that. I just don't know that they can coexist. I think that something's going to have to give. I don't know how long LIV will stay in this game because I don't understand the business model of where is the return on investment. No matter how much money you have, you obviously want some return on your investment eventually. And right now, I don't see a return.
I agree with you. I don't see a return either. I don't see how it's sustainable, and I don't think it's good to have the game of golf in the hands of like the Saudis, and they could decide, hey, like we could pull the plug at any time.
Right, exactly, and that's the thing is that now they're talking about buying airtime on, I think, Fox Sports 1, FS1. They're going to buy time. When is the last time in my lifetime, your lifetime, anybody, that we saw a professional sports organization buying time on television? It usually works the other way around. Usually the networks are paying me. Look what the network pays the PGA Tour. Look what networks pay the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball. Usually the networks they want to air your product. This is now a case of they are going to go buy time just so they can be on television. And if you look at their streaming numbers that they're getting off of YouTube, I know they say that those numbers aren't all there is. You can watch it on the website and whatnot, but the numbers are extremely low when you're talking worldwide numbers. We've got more people where I live in Jacksonville watching the PGA Tour play than they have worldwide watching a LIV tournament.
Yeah, it's definitely shocking. It's unprecedented that type of deal might exist. I don't see how it's sustainable either, and I don't see how their product can attract golf fans. As a golf fan myself, that product does not attract me.
No, not at all. And I commend the PGA Tour on standing by. They drew a line in the sand early on in this deal, and Jay and the tour players and the pack, they have stood by it. And I think that is it. That's extremely. Can't think of what word I'm looking for. That's I admire the way the tour has stood their ground.
I agree. I'm with you on that. I think the leadership has been good, and I'm not on the pack, but just so it seems like I think they're handling it well.
Yeah, and I think that we've seen the most of I think the big names, the guys that are gonna go, have gone. We may see some more, couple here and there, but I think the majority of those who want to go have gone, and the people who want to stay have stayed.
I would agree with that. I think so too. I think if they were to leave, they would have already left.
Yeah, and I think this season will be a lot quieter. Like they'll do their thing, which I still don't understand. I want to play less golf, but now they're going to play 14 events, and they want to play the majors, so now that's 18. And then you want to sue the tour to come back and play more tour events. So now you're actually going to play more golf than you played when you ran. Just none of it makes sense. I'd rather them all just look me in the face like I forget who did and said, yeah, it really is about the money. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah, just say it,
It can't be about anything else.
I agree.
So moving forward, how will we see you play? Because I know now you can actually kind of plan your schedule and play some tournaments that you want to play rather than hoping that you get in on an exemption or whatnot.
Yeah, so I'll be at the Shriners this week. Looking forward to that event. They gave me a spot to play in 2018 when I was fresh out of college. So always feel grateful for that. And I'm really looking forward to Vegas this week. And then I'll play Bermuda, I'll play Maricopa, and I'll play RSM to finish. So that's where you can find me next.
Nice. That's awesome. So you got some good events you can plan for. And like you said, you've played this event before. So how valuable is that in course knowledge and in preparing for the event this week?
Yeah, it's very valuable. And it's another thing about being a rookie that's tough is like you're going up against guys who've played these courses for 10 years and they're also the best players in the world. So it can be a bit tough. But now having experienced a year under my belt and especially courses, seeing all these courses, it's certainly helpful. Huge advantage to have experience and knowledge and just feel comfortable.
Right. Well, before we let you go, we do a thing called Emergency 9. We're going to get a quick 9 questions in, and you just some have something to do with golf, and some don't have a damn thing to do with golf. So you just give me the first thing that comes to your head. Number 1, what's the best golf shot you've ever hit?
Best golf shot I've ever hit. Shoot. It's got to be one of my hole-in-ones. I've had a hole-in-one on my favorite golf course. Actually, I'm wearing the shirt. Crystal Downs Country Club up in Michigan. I hit a 6-iron, just a low flight. It was dead into the wind, 6-iron, like only 150, 160 yards, and it went in the hole. And it was to this tiny green, number 9, that sits by the clubhouse. It's just, it's a shot I'll never forget. That's
awesome. Speaking of real quick, this isn't question number 2, but I had a hole-in-one on a par 3 course a couple weeks ago. And some buddies of mine said a hole-in-one on a par 3 course doesn't count. It does count, right?
That's funny you say that because I grew up on a par 3 course. I have 12 holes-in-ones on that par 3 course. So I leave it up to people. Hey, like when they ask me how many holes-in-ones I have, well, I have 5 on a regulation course and 12 on a par 3 course. So does 17 count?
Come on, you have 17 hole-in-ones?
Well, I mean, do you count? Do you count par 3 courses? I'm going to ask you the question you asked me.
Yes.
Okay, great. I have 17 then.
I mean, if you tee off from the tee box and the holes, I don't care if it's 80, 90 yards away. I don't care if it's 50 yards away. If you knock it in the hole, that's still a great shot. But on a par 3 golf course, 12, so 17 total, dude, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'll take it. That's for sure.
All right, question number 2. What is your favorite sports team or favorite athlete?
Tiger Woods, my favorite athlete for sure, and I'm a big NFL fan from Chicago, so I'm a Bears fan. It's been misery, but I will always support him.
My wife's a Bears fan too, so I completely understand. I follow the Bears second. I'm a Buccaneers fan. I'm enjoying the last run with Tom Brady, but for some reason this third season isn't feeling as good as the first 2.
I will share my other favorite athletes, Tom Brady being one of them.
Yep.
Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all 4. Those are my Mount Rushmore favorite athletes of all time.
Those are the GOATs.
Yep.
Nobody's done it better than any of them.
Nope.
Yep. Number 3, your go-to food on the road.
Chipotle, no brainer.
You know what's funny? We get a lot of that. I think I had Cam Percy a couple weeks ago. Chipotle is the first thing that came out of his mouth.
It's just easy, and when you need a quick meal and it's reliable, you know what you're going to get, and you know what you want. It's easy.
It is, and it's always consistent. No matter where you go to Chipotle, it's the same as the Chipotle you went to last week in a completely other different part of the country.
It is. Guac's a little better on the West Coast just because they don't have to freeze it all the way to Florida where you live, but that's the only difference.
Most famous phone number in your cell phone?
My dad, he always answers. Never doesn't answer.
Player that you'd be most nervous with to be paired on the PGA Tour?
Tiger, no doubt about it.
I knew you were going to say Tigers to give you another one.
I've
Have you
been
been paired
lucky.
with anybody yet that made you nervous?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've played with JT. I've played with Colin. Played with Victor. I played with Cam Smith. I played with a lot of great players so far. I'm not sure. Honestly, I've kind of gotten over the stage of being nervous with them. But I was certainly nervous playing with those guys.
Who's your favorite person to be paired with on the tour that you played with so far?
Favorite. It's hard to say on the spot. Just the best ones I just mentioned are my favorites, just because their games are the best, obviously, and the best in the world. But I just try to learn as much as I can when I play with them, so I can beat them consistently.
I mean, when you're playing with JT, are you walking down the fairway at any point and you're like, holy shit, I'm playing golf with Justin Thompson, same group on a PGA Tour event?
Yeah,
does that happen?
Well, yeah, I Monday qualified into waste management a couple of years ago, and that's when I played with him. So it was still early on in my career, so I was still a little had that wow factor.
Right.
So certainly, getting to play with him on a weekend was a blast, because he's a stripe show, and there's no holes in his game.
He's a fun guy to watch. In the gym, cardio or weights?
I'm a cardio guy because I do a lot of yoga and stretching.
Okay, good deal. Music on the golf course?
Classical rock, Rolling Stones, Tom Petty, Led Zeppelin. That's my stuff.
All right, and last one. If you no, what's the dumbest thing you've heard from a fan while playing on the PGA Tour?
I love gambling. I love it for the sport too. Mm-hmm. But a lot of things that people say that are dumb are related to gambling. I remember I was in New Orleans last year, and I got up to this chip shot, just in the right swell number 9, and this guy's yelling at me because he's got me to make bogey on this hole or something, and and he's just hooting and hollering, and I'm just like, and I actually got it up and down, so I was proud of that. But
hold on. So he tells you that he needs you to not get it up and down so he can make cash.
Oh yeah.
And then you get it up and down anyway, so he doesn't make his money.
Oh yeah.
Good for you, man.
I took the high road. I didn't even point to him. I didn't even say anything. I just did it.
But now, were you feeling a little pressure? Like, I want to make par anyways, but I really want to make par now just to screw that guy.
You really got to have thick skin and just say, hey, I can't control what these guys do. I don't care what they think. And just focus on your job.
I mean, golf is a sport where you are really so much closer to the fans than probably any other sport. I mean, they're right there, especially you hit one, a little sideways, into the rough. They're standing right on top of you. So we have such a close connection with the fans in our sport.
Yeah, we do. And that's what makes golf great, I think, for sure. And it's something all these players deal with. It's not like I'm the only one who's heard that stuff. I'm sure players hear worse stuff than that. So it's part of the game, but that's why we get to play. It's great.
Right. Now, before we let you go, I do want to ask you one other thing. Because I mean, you are absolutely one of the long guys on tour right now. Your current off the tee, 313 yards is your average off the tee right now. Where does the power come from? Because you are one of the longer guys on tour, and hitting it long, it has become the new norm. It's no longer, a few years ago, 313, you would have been one of the longest guys on tour. Now I think you're 21st in driving distance, which is nothing to sneeze at. But where does the power come from, Nick?
Well, for me, I try to take good care of my body, number one, and eat healthy. A lot of guys out here do speed training. I don't really do speed training. I make sure I swing with width, swing with my body, and swing with a good sequence. When I get off of my sequence, I'm trying to pull down with my hands too much, and I'm not patient enough at the top of the swing. A guy that I like to watch actually is Cam Young hit the ball, because he just kind of gathers it all up at the top and just unwinds and unloads. It's fun to watch for me, because that's something I remind myself at the top of the swing too, is just to be a little more patient. But I think speed training is definitely something that would help any amateur golfer.
So when you say sequence in your downswing sequence, you mean like hips first, not just unwinding with the shoulders and coming out over the top.
Exactly. Once you pull down with your shoulders like a baseball swing, you're done. You're going to probably miss right. You're going to get narrow, and that face won't have time to square up. So what I focus on is getting my lower body working properly first and getting my weight into the left side earlier and efficiently, not like pulling around, but just into my left side earlier in my lower body, and then unwinding with the shoulders.
Who do you see? Who do you work with? Who's your coach?
I've had the same swing coach since I was 9 years old. His name is Brett Packey. He's been amazing to me for my whole career, and I've also been getting a little short game help and wedge work help with Gary Barter, who's my fiance's coach growing up. He coaches Matt Jones as well, longtime great professional golfer on the tour, and so I've been getting help from him. But yeah, Brett Packey, he's been my longtime coach, and it's been fun to have the same coach for so long. Just great dialogue.
I still love the fact that your fiance is into golf so much that she could even help you out on the range. I think it never hurts to have another set of eyes on your swing who can see what you're doing, because we all know that in this game, feel and real are two completely different things.
True. I mean, yeah, having her on the road almost every week is like a second coach. Like you said, she helps so much. It's hard to say. Like it's like my secret weapon, because there's not many other fiancés or wives that help their husbands out on the range.
No, they're usually doing the opposite. They're usually when they get back to the room, it's like, I've been dealing with these kids all day and you're playing golf. She's actually helping you.
That's exactly right.
It's a good deal. Well, Nick, man, appreciate it, man. Good luck to you this year. Hope you have a great season, and we'll be following along. Good luck this week at the Shriners. Should be a great tournament, because the weather out there in Vegas is always great for golf. It's a little warm, but probably cool at night now, right?
Yeah, it's nice waking up. It's only like 68, 70 degrees, but we're gonna have great weather this week.
That's awesome. Good deal. Well, best of luck to you, man. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it, and thanks for being a guest on the Stripe Show podcast.
Thanks for having me, Froggy.
Appreciate it, man.
Haymaker Coffee Company was established in 2021 to create the best coffee to fuel the underdogs who perseveres, who hustles, and have the give-it-all mentality to achieve their American dream. Haymaker Coffee only roasts top quality, specialty grade coffee beans, resulting in brews that satisfies those who demand every drop from their coffee and day. If you work hard, run hard, fight hard, and play hard, we have your coffee right here.